From We Run With You, I'm Kathy Wynn.
And I'm Rob Alvarez. This is Doing Good. This season, we interview brain aneurysm survivors and caregivers to learn how they are navigating new challenges and finding their own way of doing good.
After Patty Clark suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm, her family was told to say their last goodbyes. But a small twitch of the toe gave rise to hope, which blossomed into a second chance at life, full of inspiration and endurance sports. Hi, Patty. Welcome to the show. Patty comes to us from our neighboring state of New Jersey. And I'm actually so excited to meet Patty and actually talk to her. I was telling her before, I was admiring her from afar. And so this is such a great opportunity to finally get to chat with my neighbor, my fellow aneurysm survivor neighbor. So again, thank you, Patty, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Patty, I know you had a ruptured brain aneurysm and a stroke back in 2014, but I wanted to take it back a little bit before that. Can you share with us what your life was like back then? Were you always this active? I know since your aneurysm, you've been very active and challenging yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was always very active. I used to be a dancer. Shortly before I had my rupture, I had made the decision that I had wanted to do my first triathlon. So I felt like I was the strongest I had ever been when all of this happened to me. And the reason why I decided that I wanted to do a triathlon, I was actually at a work conference and I had watched the speaker give this incredible presentation about doing the Ironman. And I later, when I spoke to my husband, I'm like, I'm going to do a triathlon. It just inspired me so much. And that was in, I think, November that I saw her. By January, I had joined a gym that had a pool so I can start swimming and start really doing my training. And that's what I was doing. I mean, I was swimming, I was biking, I was running, I was doing all these things that are a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I felt the best that I had ever felt, and I felt incredibly strong. And then I was actually in the gym when I had experienced the worst possible pain of my life. And that's when I collapsed in the gym, actually.
Oh, wow. Were there any sort of warning signs at all? Or do you recall any feeling unusual in days or weeks before?
That particular time, it happened very quickly, where I remember saying to my husband, I was actually running on the treadmill when I said to him, I'm going to stop. I don't feel the greatest, but I still didn't feel like sick enough where we had to leave the gym. As we're very stubborn as well. So I was just like, I'm fine. I'm going to go lift some weights. And I remember putting my things down, and within seconds, I remember grabbing my head. Oh, wow. Prior to that, the only thing I could add is that I did have high blood pressure, and I was on medicine. I was taking medicine for high blood pressure, and what I was told at that particular time when they did take my blood pressure after I collapsed, my blood pressure had skyrocketed, which obviously then caused the aneurysm to rupture and the chain of events. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, I had felt the best that I had ever felt. No complaints. It was the least. When I remember waking up in the hospital when they told me what had happened, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how did that even happen? So it was, well, what I was told from the doctors was I was very lucky that I was in the shape that I was in, because that's what initially saved my life.
Mm.
I wouldn't have been able to fight like I did if I wasn't as strong as I was.
So prior to that, so how long have you been? So you were training for your first triathlon at that time. So how long were
Yes.
you training for?
It's only really a couple of months,
Okay.
but I was very active prior to that. It just, I was particularly training for a triathlon when this
Okay.
all happened to me.
So, so you said you were in. Do you remember anything at all of that day it happened, or was it all just what everybody tells you?
Just, just that initial putting my stuff down. Like after I got off, I stopped running on the treadmill. Thank God. I stopped running. I said to my husband, I don't feel that great. I'm going to stop running and I'm going to go do some weights. And so, other than that, that was the last thing that I said to him. And then when I went to go put my stuff down on the bench, within seconds, I remember grabbing my head and experiencing the worst pain of my life. And after that, I don't remember much else after it at that moment.
Oh wow.
Then I was rushed to the hospital, and I was in intense. I was in the ICU for a bit.
So when
And
basically you collapsed, and then when they took
yeah,
you to the hospital, you were unconscious at this time,
yeah,
correct? And then how long did it take you to, I guess you could say, wake up from your
yeah.
surgery? Or
So that part of me going to the hospital, obviously, I was in and out from what I was told. My husband told me I was very embarrassed because I had I had caused the scene now. I realized that I had caused a big to do. I was like, oh my God. Um, when I was taken to the hospital, um, he had, he was told that I was in very bad I was in a very bad condition because then he was asked to bring my daughter in to talk to me, to say goodbye to me because they didn't think that they could perform any surgery. I was unconscious then at that moment, and I had no brain. I had no more activity happening. So
Wow.
yeah, it was when I get told that piece of the story, it, as a mom, it's just to know that your child was being told that number one, that you have to go and say goodbye to your mom. Like I don't know if I could, like so I think my poor child has like this anxiety now because of that, because she was walked into her room to say goodbye to her mother, and then a miracle happened. I wiggled my toe. By me wiggling my big ugly toe, it provided a glimmer of hope that they could operate. And what they were able to do was to coil the aneurysm and perform that surgery. So when after that surgery happened, that is when I actually woke up from that surgery talking. And it was shock because here I had no brain activity. I had a stroke, and then they performed this surgery to coil the aneurysm, and I come out of it like, hi, talking, in Patty fashion. And so that was the miracle. That was the miracle, I think,
Wow.
right there.
that must have been such a relief for your family, especially your husband and your daughter, to know that cognitively you were still there and you still had the Patty sense of humor.
Yeah.
So that's just crazy though, that from isn't it crazy that 1 minute they don't think that they can
Yeah.
operate on you, and then people are led in to say their last goodbyes, and then the next thing you know,
Wild.
it's like, hey, I'm back. It's just
And that's
wild.
what I think about. Like I always feel like you can just never lose hope. And
Hmm.
I truly do believe in, I don't want to sound like I'm a crazy person, but I do believe in the powers above with certain things. And I do believe I had some angels looking out for me.
Yeah.
So how long was that period of time that them telling your husband, okay, we do not detect any
Yeah.
brain activity, to when you wiggled your toes? Just trying to, and also if you
Yeah.
share
So
with me what.
it was like within like an hour, a couple of hours from me getting to the hospital, where he kept getting pushed aside, so to speak, while they decided, like, sorry, this is not looking very good. And they felt that they had done all that they could do at that moment. And then that's where, if he was here, he'd come busting in and been like, it was 45 minutes. Blah,
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was about an hour or so.
Okay. No, because I was just wondering too what he was thinking and what they were telling him.
Yeah.
Just I was.
He would have been a good person to be here, because he not saying that he loves telling the story, because this is obviously it was a very, but he says that I leave out the specifics because I had no idea what was happening, and he was the one that was there. And
Well, that's the
I
same thing with
I don't
me and,
tell it
and
the way
Rob.
that he would have told it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking just mainly for my own benefit too, because
Yeah.
I went through that, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of funny actually. So just a little aside, if I could. So we were, I think, a year after this happened to Kathy. We were They were asked to be on the Doctors show, that daytime show called The Doctors.
Oh yeah.
So the producer wanted to interview us, um, and to kind of do the pre-interviews to get some material. So they interviewed me, and then they interviewed Kathy, and after he talked to Kathy, he's like, she doesn't remember anything. I'm not getting anything out of
I
her.
was useless.
She's like, she keeps telling me they told me this, they told me this. Like, I can't use any of this. So yes, I guess you guys are kind of in that same
We were
situation.
a little busy.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering, like, if you guys had talked about it, and also curious. I don't know how old was your daughter at the time?
So this happened in 2014. So I want to say she was a freshman or a sophomore. So she wasn't even, like, she must have been like 15, 16.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's got to be tough. Have you guys ever talked about
That day.
that day
And
at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, now we've spoken about it, obviously, and for her, I think she really, she's been wonderful. She's been so supportive of me, when we go to exercise, or when I go to do a walk, or when I did the marathon, like any race that I've ever been in, she's been there, and she's been my biggest fan.
mm,
She's my biggest supporter, for sure. My biggest cheerleader.
Uh,
Yeah. She's very proud.
well,
I mean,
she should be. Yeah, well, they don't call you Wonder Woman for nothing, Patty. So, yeah. And, it's at that age, obviously
yeah,
she's clearly old enough to understand, the emotions, and, I'm
yeah,
sure, like, years, all the years she spent with her mom, and knowing that, this is the last time. Yeah, that would be so traumatizing. But at the same time, I can only say that, without having met your daughter, but just from seeing your post, and you take the cutest selfies together, by the way. I can sense, like, this pure admiration she has for you, because I can see, like, yeah, this is my mom. She's awesome. She's so strong. And when something, I feel like when something like that happens, especially at an at age that she was, and she had to go through that, and then to see like she had, she has this
Yeah.
second chance with you, like, oh my gosh, my mom is
Yeah.
still here. Of course she's gonna be the biggest cheerleader of your life, through your whole life,
And and I'm sure she gets annoyed with me because I still make her, clean your room,
but that's the mom in
all
us.
those like things. Did you do this? Did you do that? I'm still like annoying mom. But at the end of the day, I know deep down, because we exercise together now, we take classes together. I know, like, I know for a fact she's like, wow, my mom is
My mom's
killing
a
it.
badass. It's okay, it's all right,
Yeah.
because you are. Um, but I wanted to take something back really quick. So you know how you mentioned that you started training and was inspired to do a triathlon. It's kind of like mirroring the same story with me. I was teaching aerobics at the time, and
Oh, wow.
my girlfriend, or one of the classmates, or class members' husband, did Ironman Lake Placid,
Oh,
and
wow.
he had did a race recap of the race. And I don't know if I was just like so enthralled and uh, so consumed by his writing,
Yeah.
and how vivid it was, that I felt like I was there. But at that time I was like, oh no, I want to do a triathlon, but that's just an Ironman. It's just crazy. So that's kind of cool that you had mentioned that. Yeah,
I
she
just
shared
want
her.
to, for the record, say that I was never going to do an Ironman. I was just going to do a sprint
Like a sprint,
triathlon.
right? Yeah, that's what I ended up
That's
doing.
where it
I
always
it,
starts.
it always starts there with the sprint, and then you go watch, your friends do another race, and then an Iron. Well, I was told I drank the Kool-Aid when I went to watch him and several friends do the Syracuse
That's
70.3.
incredible.
That's when I was hooked. But yeah, that was just really cool. I like the fact
Yeah.
that we sort of paralleled there.
I can't, I can remember so vividly being in this big hotel, meeting space, and watching her, and watching her tell the story. And she was incredible. She got on the podium for an Ironman. I'm
Wow.
like, what is that? Like, that is, and still have a full-time
Mm.
job and be like the nicest, coolest person that you've ever met. And then for her to just, yeah, I'm gonna do this Ironman in Kona, Hawaii. Like, it was incredible. And it really, I left there and I was like, yep, I'm gonna, if she can do it, I'm gonna do it. It left me so inspired. So whenever I see her, I basically tell her she saved my life,
Aw.
because like, I wouldn't have been in the shape that I was in if it
Yeah.
wasn't for
No,
her.
I absolutely agree. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I love when other strong women can give us, the inspiration
Yeah.
to do, you know what? To do hard things. That's what
I
you
always say
did.
that we can do hard
Yeah, we
things.
can do a whole heck of a lot. And
Yeah.
isn't it just the same thing with you and me? That's exactly what the surgeons, my neurosurgeon says. You came out of this, well, very fortunate that I came out with no lasting deficit, but I think my recovery was so it went very well because of the fitness base that I had. And same goes with you. So,
Yeah.
and it's kind of,
Exercise saved my life.
yeah, but at the same time,
100.
I also, do you ever hear people say this to you, which honestly, after a few years, I got so annoyed. So I, it fitness became more of a lifestyle. I just
Yeah.
like to be active. But then again, because of the aneurysm, everyone was like, why are you running again? You're doing such strenuous thing. You have nothing to prove. I was like, I know what I'm doing. Um,
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that? Did you feel like they were
Yeah,
questioning your
my I had a lot of people question, like, saying very similar things. You don't have anything to prove, Patty. You've gotten through, you've recovered, you're good. Now, this is for me.
Mm,
And this is, everything that I did do, and all these recoveries all the recovery and the physical therapy and everything that I went through, I really did do for myself. I wanted to feel like I did. That was my goal. And when I exercised and I ran, and just that feeling of accomplishment made me feel like I did pre aneurysm.
mm,
And I don't know if you ever feel like that. Like, I have yet to feel like I did 9 years ago. So any bit of a little, like, feeling a little bit as how I used to feel,
mm,
I'll take it. And exercising did that for me. And the adrenaline of doing these races and the training and staying so regimented,
mhm,
that's what I needed to. I also needed to just prove to myself that I wasn't knocked down. Sorry about the dog barking again, but
okay. He has an opinion too. I want to say.
Yeah, I
there's
agree.
nobody here, and now this seems to be the time of night that everybody's walking their dogs.
Yeah.
Oh
So I
yeah, of course.
apologize. I'm so sorry,
That's
No,
okay.
no,
but
no need to apologize.
yeah, I didn't want to feel like defeated. And
Yeah.
even after a few months of physical therapy, and when I was able to run like my first mile,
Mm,
I was like, the sense of accomplishment was incredible. And I am sure you can understand and relate that just that little bit, no matter how slow I was still doing more than what healthy
Yeah,
people were
yeah.
doing.
Oh no, I can definitely everything that you said, I absolutely can relate and I think it'll resonate with a lot of listeners and fellow aneurysm survivors out there. But it is so true. There's like this like single moment and it's so magical.
Yeah,
Sometimes you're just like I remember many occasions in I want to say in late 2015. So my aneurysm was in March, but in late 2015, it's just like there's like this lightness or there's like just this rhythm that I would feel when I'm running for just a
yeah,
slight second. And I was just and I would find myself like pausing. And I never pause for anything. And I was just like, and I
soak
would
it
say
in.
to myself, "Holy crap, this feels so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like back, right? I'm back. I'm back." But and I don't know if you would agree or not, but I
Well, so
always
like running is completely, I think I said it before, is it's not natural for me. Dancing, I got. I could dance circles around anybody, but biking and running is is just not is just not normal
mm,
exercise for me. So that alone was out of my comfort zone. And then I knew that I had to, and then the pain that I was having while I was running because of my right side, from um with having the stroke, that I I was like dragging bricks. So
mm.
everything was a bit of a challenge for me.
mm,
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to go back to that. You know, to the days right after, and can you kind of share with us what the recovery was like, the initial days, and
Yeah,
what challenges you
I
had to face?
I can remember. this is one thing I did remember in the hospital. I had asked, I'm like, at first I was like, so can I get out of bed? Can I walk? And they're like, yes, you could walk. I'm like, please get me out of the bed. So I remember them, and I'm sure, I don't know if you can remember, like those like yellow non-slip socks
Yeah.
that they put on you.
The clown socks on me.
I will never, if I see those, I'm just like, I'll get those away from me. But once they would put those socks on, and then they gave me a walker to start to walk. And I was like, thank you, God. Just thank you. Just get me out of this bed. Let me move. Because I knew in my heart that if I could just move, I could get through this. And once I have a habit, I don't know, I'm a very positive person. I was a very positive person prior to this happening. So in my head, I knew, okay, this is what you have to deal with. We can work with this. Like I was already trying to assess the situation and all right, you're slow, but you got that. Like, okay, your legs are fine. Like I was like, stop being a baby almost. I was giving myself like a pep talk, and you're okay. And I really did realize that also when I came home from the hospital and I joined a lot of the support groups. And once I saw how I was recovering compared to some others, that's when I really was like, Patty, just stop the pity party and you're okay. You could do this. So I don't know, that for me, that was just, once I understood what was going on with me and what my future was going to be, I knew I would be okay.
How did you get back into running, and how long did that take?
So with my physical therapist, he pushed me. I can't tell you. I hated and loved him all at the same time. he really pushed me more so than, because he was also my friend, and he knew what I was capable of.
Yeah.
He knew what I was capable of, and he is who I was using as, he's been my physical therapist for years. So we had a relationship already. And when this happened to me, I mean, he basically, he brought me flowers. Like when I came to his office, I was there 4 to 5 times a week getting physical therapy. He made me a priority. And once he knew that I could do what I could do, he pushed me. And like I said, there were times where I was like, you're crazy. I can't do that. And he goes, yes, you can. I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, we would have fights. Like I'm like, and he, he's like one of like I hold such a special place in my heart for him. But he really, I contribute his treating me and training me to my incredible recovery, because he really did push me.
That's awesome though, that you had someone pretty much get you back, or knew how to get you back. And what's even better is that he knew what you were capable of, which is so important. And I'm telling listeners out there, whether you had a traumatic event and you had to go through PT, but just going to PT is hard work. I mean, I just go to sometimes I had to go to PT because, I had foot issues because of running too much or whatever. And a lot of times people would just say, you're probably going to get more of a workout just going through PT than doing your regular training. I'm like, you can say that again. Yeah. And can you just imagine on our end where, I mean, we had like brain surgery, and now we have to do even, and everything just seems so much more.
Everything was so hard, right?
Yes,
Like even lifting weights, I was trying to build up all of my strength, and making sure my legs were moving and doing everything. And I was there, like I said, 4 to 5 times a week for an hour and a half. And I was exhausted, like flat out exhausted. But I knew. So this happened to me in February of 2014. By June of that summer, just a few months later, is when I ran my first mile. So it was a few months of buildup, but when I did it, I was like, oh my, it was slow. I mean, I am as slow as they come, but talk about feeling so satisfied.
Mm.
Like I said, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm back. I'm good.
Yeah. It's wonderful how, I mean, like you said, I remember my first mile back. It was, but at that point, you don't even think about pace. You're just like, and I swear okay, so this is how much of, like, I don't know if I was in denial or not. So so mine was in 2015, and I usually run a marathon with Frank's Wine marathon team at the time every fall. And I forget, we were supposed to run like Cleveland, or I don't know, but anyhow, long story short, we always ran for charity, and it was supposed to happen in, I think, September or end of September, beginning of October. And I swear, after that first mile, I was like, you know what, I think I can sign up for this marathon.
Well, that's the
It's
thing
just great.
that first mile, I don't care how healthy and physically fit you are. I think it's terrible for everybody. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that first mile is just god awful.
Mm,
And then then after that is where you're like, all right, I could do this.
yeah, yeah.
But uh, I don't know. When I did that one stinking mile, it felt like I did a marathon though. It was like I felt just so accomplished.
Mm.
And then that's just running around a track, I was like,
Yeah, that's a big deal. Just
It is.
4 months
Mhm.
after.
yeah. And I did. I felt like I could take on the world. And then, within that past year, I still kept going to physical therapy. I stayed consistent. I never stopped. And then by January the following year, I signed up for a triathlon.
Ah.
Oh,
And
wow.
because I wanted to do the triathlon that I was originally set out to do
Yeah.
a year before. And I knew, okay, you got to get back in the pool. You got to really, and I started up the schedule that I had started to follow. And I did like a couple little ones, I did one in May, I did an indoor one, but then by June, I did the triathlon that I had signed up for.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
God.
How did that feel?
Yeah.
Can you take us through that day? It's
Yeah,
gotta be
take us through.
a bit
I'm
surreal.
getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. I'm like, woo, yeah.
So I stress the fact that I'm very slow and I was the last person, but I had the most amazing support team. So I did my swim, it was very, the people who were in the kayaks are coming by me. They're like, you're okay. Ready to pull me out of the water. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Get out of the water. Transition to the bike. The bike for me personally is the hardest.
Mm.
It's the movement of my legs for my side. I think it also takes the most brain power.
Mm.
And it was really hard for me. So I had to do 17 miles on this bike with hills, and so I could feel my blood pressure. It's just all these things that I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And I met the most loveliest man while I was doing this. We were on the back of the pack, And I really do, at the end of the day, think he helped me get through this race, because he stayed with me
Oh,
the entire
I love that.
time. When I got off of the bike to transition to the run, which is now the remaining 5 miles, my physical therapist, my husband, my friend Laura, who I believe you know,
Oh, yeah.
my daughter,
Yes, yes.
I had about 5 amazing people dress up like Secret Service.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they ran with me the entire 5 miles, because they knew I was going to be at the back of the pack, and they ran with me, so I wasn't by myself.
Oh.
And then I was able to catch up with my daughter, joined in, my stepdaughter joined in. So I had this incredible entourage of people running that last mile with me. And it was, I mean, I'll never, ever, I don't want to get emotional, but I'll never, ever forget that.
I'm getting emotional thinking about that because I, I mean, just imagine
It
what
was
you just did, you know?
like, at the same time, I was like, oh my God, I'm last. But then there was a part of me that was like, wow, look what I just did. Like, again, I go back to, there are very healthy people who wouldn't even think to just do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And, but when you have the support of people who love and care about you, that just changes. That just changes everything. Because now I am running for myself, but now I'm running for my daughter to see how strong her mom is. For my husband who had been there for me every single day of my recovery, coming back and forth, missing work. And it was like almost like a thank you. Like, see, like all of it came together because of all of you
Yeah.
and all of your support. So
I totally get it. In a way, I get it because by showing them what you're capable of,
yeah,
it's almost like telling them, I'm gonna be okay.
yeah,
But it's so true. But and I feel that without the support system that I had, that you had, I don't know if I would be where I would be, you know? It takes, I mean, I think a lot of it too is you have to have some mental strength, definitely. But I think when you have, I always call it a village of supporters, you always feel like, yeah, even though I may not think I can do it, they know I can do it. And so I'm also the type of person that I like to, I'm a people pleaser. I don't like to disappoint others. Um, so I always feel like I gotta do as best as I can so that I can show them that, yeah, this is where you got me. So yeah, so
it was an
100%,
amazing.
I
It was
absolutely get it.
amazing. It was truly amazing. And then, like, even being last, it was like, I wasn't embarrassed. Trust me. I jokingly, it's like an ongoing joke now, because every race that I do, I'm like, oh, there's the truck right behind me, flashing the lights.
Yeah,
It's like they're like the sweepers.
Yeah,
Right?
there's nothing wrong with that.
nothing. Yep.
Yeah, I've done a sprint triathlon where I was finishing with the Olympic distance marathon or triathlon runner. So I was like, you know what? I'll just pretend, even though everybody probably knows I did the sprint, but I'm finishing with the Olympic distance competitors. I'll just pretend I did the Olympic distance.
And I wouldn't
It's
have
nothing
blamed
wrong with
and
it.
I wouldn't have blamed you for wanting to stay out there a little longer because I mean, isn't that And when you said it was like the best feeling, gosh, how cool is that to have them dress up as what, bodyguards or service agents? That is just the cool. I hope someone got a picture, and I would
I
definitely
do.
want to a copy of that. But I just think
I'll share it with you.
cool.
It was truly incredible. Again, it was something that I'll never ever forget.
Mm,
I am forever grateful for every single person that did that with me that day. It
mhm,
just it was amazing, and it validated, like, okay, look at this, look what I did.
mhm.
And again, it goes back to what we said earlier: we can do hard things.
Correct. Yep. And I could also say that they more than likely feel the exact same way, that this is how I got to support my friend. I mean, how cool
Yeah,
is that, right? I mean, you have a really amazing you have an amazing journey. I know that your journey will continue to be amazing, and I think for those individuals that ran with you that day, to usher you
yeah,
into the finish line, I'm sure it's gonna it's probably gonna be one of their best memories as well, that they get to
yeah,
share that moment with you, and that's so powerful.
yeah. To know that, and one of them being one of my doctors too. I think for him, he was just so he was just so proud of where I had come, where I've gotten to, and he just he needed to be he needed to be with me
Mhm.
to get me across, because he also knew that I was a nervous wreck.
Aw.
I think he was trying to help me with my anxiety. So by making sure that I think you understand this, within a year, you still get like a little nervous when you're out doing these things, that is this going to happen to me
Mm,
again? And am I going, I knew when I was doing this with him, I knew I was okay. It
yeah,
just gave me that little bit extra sense of security, and you feel like you could push a little bit harder knowing that he was right there.
yeah. Well, my relationship with my neurosurgeon, and what we do. So I have the utmost respect, and I love him even more now, knowing that he was one of your entourage. Yeah, that's just shows
Oh,
how
yeah.
dedicated he is to his patients, and seeing them succeed. You know, that's
Yeah,
that's so
it
beautiful.
was pretty it was all pretty amazing. And and again, my neurosurgeon didn't do the run with me. That was my other doctor. But my neurosurgeon, when I do see him, he did a special piece on me too, because he was just in awe of how well my recovery was
Mhm.
going. And I think he still is. Every time I see him, he knows I'm so happy to see him. And I walk in like, hey, just like not like his normal patient, so to speak.
So how do you think the experience of having a ruptured brain aneurysm has changed your approach to triathlons, running, and life in general? Or do you think it
Um,
has?
no, I 100%. Well, number one, I know my body incredibly well. I know like every piece of every ache and pain, why I have anything happening. So like if I have a headache, I know what kind of headache it is. I don't know if you you do the same. Having, like, I just feel like I totally understand every ache and pain that I have, and like why I have it. And once I understand why I have what I have, I can push through.
Mm,
So I think that has enabled me to push through my training, because I'm like, okay, I'm not making anything worse. I'm not hurting myself. this is just you being tired, or that's just basically how I was assessing each of my workouts. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think I although yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just stubborn. I don't know. I call me a person with the very high threshold pain because but no, but I totally get it. I don't think I'm as in tuned with my body as you are, Patty, but I can say that knowing the history that I have, with the ruptured aneurysm, I can understand, when I have like certain, and I've asked my doctor about this, but they said they don't think it is. They probably think it's just me being tired. But a lot of times when I do like a really long run, I find myself and I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but when I come back from, let's just say, a really long run or a long bike ride, and when I talk, I feel like my voice is coming out, but it's not, I can't hear it. It's like there's a delay.
The delay.
Yes. It's so odd. And it's never happened to me before, prior to my rupture, prior to long runs or anything. It's never happened. But after the aneurysm, I was like, oh my gosh, is something wrong? But I wasn't feeling any pain. It was just, I would talk, I would, I know I'm saying it's coming out, but there's like a delay of what I'm hearing. I don't hear until like half a second later. It's just weird. But
I feel like I can't have a conversation after I exercise. That's like one thing. Like I come home and I just like sit by myself in a corner, and like I can't even, I don't even want to like look at my phone. I have to kind of just put like blinders on and just sit and breathe. I have to almost like cool myself down. I don't, it's kind of what I do every time I take a class. I come home, I need to give myself like a good 20 minutes of just like sitting. And so like I think that it's a combination of things. I think also, as I get older, I've just really figured out like what feels good and what doesn't with my body too. Like and running as I've gotten older, like these last couple of years, it's been really hard for me. So maybe I just swim now. I don't like, I'm starting to accept certain things.
Yeah. And that's fine. And that's perfectly fine. I think for me, I don't know. I keep saying that my age is catching up to me and I'm getting slower, but then I
think
always,
slow is okay.
yeah,
Slow is still strong.
which is okay. But then when I end up thinking like that, what I always think, Patty, I always say to myself, I'm not going to use the bleep word, but I just feel like sometimes I like to because it's more emphasis. But I'm always like, look at what you can still do. Look at what happened to you, and then it's like I shut myself up. I'm always like, because I call it. I don't want to deal with the fact that my age, the big 50. Well, no, I'm not even there yet, but I'm a year away. But I'm always saying, oh, I'm so slow. My age is catching up to me. But then I catch myself. I'm like, stop it, because look at what you can still do. Because I always remember back in, during recovery, the first couple of weeks when I came home, and I don't know if you ever had these thoughts, but just walking to the bathroom was so painful. It felt so long. It felt like a
I couldn't even
marathon,
do stairs. Like, think
right?
about that, like walking upstairs. Like, I wasn't even allowed to walk upstairs. And then, like I do, I think back to those little, walking down the block and then building from
Mhm.
there. And that's where I always, I'm like, okay, we could do this.
We
And there is so much mind over matter. Like, I lived it, I experienced it. Your mind can get you through anything. I am convinced of that, and I am proof of that. Because again, I feel like being a positive person really helped me. I learned that in one of the support groups that I did go to. They said if you were a positive person before something tragic or, like an incident, you do have the ability to stay a positive person. And I feel like that I have. And even in my darkest days, I still felt like I was always hopeful,
Mhm.
and I knew that I was going to be okay deep down. Even though I might have been saying some bad words in between, I knew deep down I was going to be okay, and I would, make the most of this life. And
Mhm.
I really do think that I have. I do. I work full time. I'm just tired. I just think I'm a little bit more tired than what I used to be.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh no, and I think you have done so much for the aneurysm stroke community. I mean, I see
I
you,
try. I
making sure that you're at the events, you're at the
Yeah,
walks, and and I think the most important thing that any of us could do, whether it's going doing fundraising or doing a challenge, I think just simply sharing your story
yeah.
is in a way giving back. And
I just always wanted to give back. I
Mhm.
always felt like it was just so important, because another reason, and I'm sure you feel the same, is like, if you can prevent anything happening to anybody, even if it's one person, oh my gosh, like, I would never in a million years want this to happen to anyone else.
Mhm.
And if we can help, however, whether it's sharing a story, putting brain aneurysm on a shirt, or, what is
Mhm.
that? Because I don't feel like it gets enough. I still, to this day, is no matter how much we've done, or how much, I do, or I just don't feel like it gets enough still.
Mhm.
And not
Agree.
enough people understand and know about it.
Yeah.
So I still feel like we have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do, but at as long as we're out there,
Yeah.
I think it'll eventually get to the point
Yeah.
where we will, reach as many people as, it could just be one person today.
Yeah.
And then down the road, that one person today adds up every day, and then they spread, the facts and share
Yeah.
whatever story they've heard. And it's like a big, what do you call it? Domino effect.
Domino effect.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think, like I said before, just simply sharing your story is it's just so powerful. And
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why we wanted to bring um, doing good and this podcast back, so that we have the opportunity to really share stories, not just stories, but inspiring stories of survivors and, their family, the caregivers. Because as you said, I think this disease is not getting enough attention. And it's kind of sad. The only time we get the attention is when it happens to a celebrity.
It happens to somebody in the news, and
Hmm.
uh, there's just so much more about. There's so many stories of people, like, I mean, because of my story, I get in touch with people locally, that I have found through either on Facebook or, just through word of mouth. And now we've become friends, and you start to, I think at the end of the day too, when you do meet somebody who experienced what you did, they get you, and you feel like this connection to them, because it's like there's not that many people that have experienced what we've gone through, and not only we've survived it, but we're killing it, and we're thriving, and we're still living our lives, and that says a lot. That says a lot of who we are. But there are a lot of people who don't do that because they're afraid, and that's the part that where I feel like I want to make sure that we, we assure them that it's okay.
Yep.
We could still live.
Yeah, that's really one of the big reasons we have this podcast and we run with you, is because we want to share stories like yours, especially to those that are going through something similar, that you have, gone through, or maybe in just coming into that recovery stage and thinking, or feeling alone and thinking, I don't know if I can do this. And sharing stories like yours hopefully gets some, that not only inspiration, but also some tips or ideas of, all right, they did it this way, and maybe for me, if I do this and in my own way, recover and getting back to what I love to do, and which is, what you've done, and you've shown that it's possible.
It's possible. It's not easy. I think that's when people's like, "Oh, you're fine. You make everything look so easy." I'm like, oh, if you only knew. I have to, like, every morning. Okay, you can do this, Pat. You got to get out of bed. You got to put your 2 feet on the floor. Like, that in itself is not easy. And it's like all these pep talks that we have to give ourselves. And I truly do it every morning. It's like, okay, today you're going to do this, and that. And that's it. It's like it's like to know that I can do it. I know I can do this, Patty. Get your butt out of bed. Stop it. It's like you have to, like, yell at yourself almost.
Well, that's important to share, because there may be someone out there thinking, why is it so hard for me? And why is it so easy for Patty?
Yeah. So
I promise you, it's like I get, like, annoyed, like, okay. But I know that once I do that, like, what is that saying? Nobody regrets the workout that they did.
Yes.
And every time I just move a little bit, whether it's a walk or it's a class, or I leave that class and end that class like, oh, thank God. And because it feels so good.
Yeah.
So
I may not be able to walk the next day, but I felt good.
Feels good right after, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know you've shared a lot of gems with us already, but do you have any other advice for anyone going through
Patience.
same?
Patience. I'm in year 9 of recovery, and I have, from 2014 to now, I am still recovering. Is how I get something different happens to me each of those years. And I think because I've stayed consistent, but I've also stayed patient. And I am not looking for perfection. I am not looking to be exactly who I was, but I am looking to feel good, and to do the best that I can be every day. And I feel like I really truly bring that. But I've had to have patience. I can't expect to be like you, Kathy, this amazing runner. Like that was just never me. But I do it just because I know I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
My body is saying you can do it. You may not do it as good, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being slow. I'm okay with that without not being perfect either.
Well, I love what you said. I and I want to repeat this. I love that you said I'm not looking for perfection. I just am looking to be a little bit part of the old me. And forgive me if I'm not repeating you
No,
correctly. But I love this part. I love this part that you said I want to feel like I'm doing good. Like I
yeah,
feel good. Feeling good is so important
yeah,
because that's the first thing. Feeling good is what allows you to get out of bed,
yeah,
do those hard things, and ultimately believe that you can do
yeah.
it, whatever it is. And you know what? Let's not glaze over this because I've been wanting to talk about this and just to tell you how incredibly proud I am of you. Well, obviously, I like to run marathons, right? And now knowing that, running is not like the easiest event for you. And then when I found out that that you were about to run New York City Marathon, uh, by the way, for Brain Aneurysm Foundation, right?
Yes, I
I was
did.
like, yes, I am. Yes, you go, girl. I mean,
It
anytime
was
someone,
incredible.
yeah,
I still can't believe that I did what I did. I mean, it, it was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, and my body hated me for it. My doctor yelled at me for it, but I had so many of these patches all over my body to get me through the race. Because like I said, I think when I'm running, I'm dragging bricks on my right
mm,
side, and it was hard. I got sick on a bridge. It took me a long time, but I did it. I
yeah,
never
you,
stopped.
but you
I
did it.
never stopped
Yeah.
moving.
But that's the thing. But you did it, Patty.
It
And
was dark.
yeah,
I
no,
was,
I waited for those pictures to come. And I was like,
yeah.
I'm just so proud of you for doing
I
that.
wasn't last.
What? What did
I
you
wasn't the last
Yeah, oh,
one, no.
Hey,
even better. I'm just kidding. No, and even if you're less, it's okay too. But what I wanted to say is I was so proud of you. I still am proud of you. And I just love the way you live your life. And every time, I swear to God, every time you write a post about I always call it anniversary. I
Yeah.
always look forward to it because you always have something so graceful and so humble about your message. Um, but I went off on a tangent there. But what I wanted to say was welcome to the 26.2 Club. That
Yeah.
was so awesome. I was absolutely
It was
I was
amazing.
very, very, very proud of you and was so happy for you that you were able to push through. I knew it wasn't hard. I knew it was hard. I'm sorry. Um,
Yeah. No.
and yeah, the fact that you did it and you finished it and not last, hey, icing on the cake.
so
I I just never I wish my body would allow me to do it again, but I just don't think I could do it again. But and I hate the fact that I think it's one and done,
Mm,
but I loved every bit of the I loved every single bit of the training.
mm,
I loved being on the schedule, and I loved the even during COVID. It was during COVID, so it was a bit like I had all these restrictions. Even that, it was still the most incredible experience I've ever had in my life.
Well, they do say that it's not really the marathon, it's the journey to the marathon.
Yeah,
And I think that's why I keep going back to
yeah.
do marathons, even though Rob is like, can you please stop? 26 is really long for me to like catch you at every mile marker.
Oh my gosh, my
But
poor family, they were exhausted. They
I
did
It is
so much.
exhausting.
I will, and if they say that it was very difficult or it was hard, I totally agree, because I honestly think spectating is really hard because you
It's
got to
hard
map
work.
out like, oh, where are we going to meet her, or where are we going to
Especially in
cheer
New
for
York
her?
City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
New
New
York
York
City,
City, geez Louise.
they had it all mapped out. They met me in Brooklyn, then they took the train,
Yeah,
and
how
then
many
they met me
subways?
they met me at the right in Manhattan, and then they met me in the Bronx. I mean, they met me all over the place. And then when I had gotten sick on the on the Queens, going from Queens into Manhattan, I wasn't feeling well, and they were tracking me on the app, and they saw that I stopped, and they're like, "Oh no." Where is she? Why did she stop? And then when they saw it start moving again, they were like, "Oh, thank God."
Oh, that's so cool. I love.
Yeah, it was incredible. It really was. And I was so grateful that I was able to raise the money that I did for the Brain Aneurysm Foundation, because like I said, I just don't feel like it gets enough attention. And I feel like I really put it out there for people to I wasn't looking for pity. I was looking, like, just, if I can do this, look at how much we could do, for everyone else.
That's
So
great.
I was I was really proud of myself.
Yeah, you should be. You inspired people to do that little bit of, their own little contribution
Yeah,
to this cause, and it's important. So, what I was going to ask in the middle of that was, so what's next? What's next for you?
yeah. So I thought about it, and I had a race that I thought that I wanted to do, and I still do, but I just don't think I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I had two races that I wanted to do that I never did, and that was the Jersey Girl Triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
That's in September. I think it's September. And then there was the New York City Triathlon. I don't know if you saw that. That's in October. They moved it. It used to be in July, and they moved it to October. It's, I think, an Olympic distance. Really, really thought that I would like to do that, but my hip is, I don't know if my hip will keep me
Mm-hmm.
running. I don't know. But now that I know that they've moved it into October, if not this year, maybe
Next
next
year.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was going to say, everyone's journey is different, right?
Yeah.
And it's awesome to hear that you have made your journey your own, and I could hear that from the stories that you've shared so far. And I want to hear, looking forward to hear what, where the journey goes, and where you take this, because I know there'll be exciting
Yeah,
adventures ahead.
I feel like I still have it in me to do maybe like one more biggie. I just don't know what that is yet. Um, but my goal right now was to move every day.
Mm.
As long as I'm moving every day, I feel like that in itself is you know has been an has been an accomplishment. But and I feel good, so that's key, right? Like, all in all, at the end of the day, I feel pretty good. But I do think I still have another. I have it in me. I have the fight in me to take on one more big something.
Yes, I have.
It just might not be this year. It might be next year.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. That's the great thing about our journey is we write our journey. We
Yeah.
write our journey, and when you're ready for it, know that we are
Yeah.
always going to be rooting for you. And hey, I am, and Robbie will probably attest to this. Is whenever I know that someone's doing something, I always track them, and I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, let's go, like let's do this. So yeah, know that if you're like hearing like ringing in your ear, it's probably not another aneurysm. It's probably Kathy, like, breaking the sound wave barrier because she's like screaming through the tracking machine, the tracker. But it's like I said, I- I've always admired you, and I still do from
Aw,
afar.
thank
Not from we're like so close. We really need to get together.
Yeah, I would really
Practically
like to do that
like an
too.
arm reach away. Um,
Yeah.
but it's been really a treasure, like just learning about you know your journey in general and some of the parallels that we've had. And
Yeah.
yeah, and me, anytime you talk about once you say run, it's like, okay, I'm here, let's talk some more about that. So it's great that I can see that you have that fire in you left,
Yeah.
that and I think all of us should still have like that fire. Like, don't ever let that flicker go out, no matter how long it may be. Just always keep that fire lit,
Yeah.
you know
I I feel like there's just like days. I know some days are harder than others, but there's days where I'm like, I could take on the world. I really do. I do feel like that, and I get frustrated for a moment, but then I become, reality sets in. But to know that I still have that urge,
hmm
I think that sometimes that's enough to get me to do it. Just that to know. And then my body, like I said before, if my mind is in the right place, then I think my body will follow,
hmm
whether it wants to or not. But I, I have to get right in the right mindset, and I think I can accomplish anything. I really do.
I think that is probably one of the most I think that's one of the most powerful advice you can give anyone. When your mindset is if you're in the right mindset, you can do anything.
I do. I truly believe. I'm not just saying that. I truly believe that if I said tomorrow, yes, I am going to do the triathlon, blah 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 blah, I will somehow figure out how to get my body to cooperate to do it. I just need to get there. But I do think there's a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have no doubt. So before we end or put this podcast to a close, is there anything that else you wanted to share that we didn't get to?
um, yeah, I think I feel like we covered everything. Again, not every day is perfect. I think that's my. You have to accept each day, and I think once you accept what is, that's another powerful
Mhm.
way to handle all of this, because now you know what to expect. And okay, so today may not be like yesterday, but now today I'll do this and that instead of that. I don't know. That's just kind of how I look at every day. I assess the situation
Yeah.
and go from there.
So yeah, Patty, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you
It's
so
been
much
a treat.
for inviting me. I'm so sorry about the dogs barking. I apologize. The boys, they like to be included in everything, but so
And
I
that's
apologize.
okay. We're just sharing with listeners that, hey, we're just
This is
living
real. This is real life.
and we go to work, we do a podcast, we try to contain our
Yeah.
dogs from barking, and it's all right. And there's moments.
Everybody at work knows knows the boys because they hear them in meetings. So now everybody knows them.
Yeah.
I apologize,
Yeah.
but thank you again for asking me to be a part of this. You have inspired me, and thank you for all that you do. You should be commended on that as well, because again, it takes a village. And I think it's helpful to know, that we're all not alone.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. And that is right. You are not alone because we are here for you. So again, thank you so much, Patty. I think one of
Thank
our
you.
personal goal, I think between you and I, is we definitely need to find
Yes,
a way to meet each other in person, because really it's ridiculous that we haven't, because we're so close.
we're close.
We're
So
very close.
when we're done with this, we can behind the scenes work on that.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Awesome. We Run With You is a nonprofit with a mission to improve the lives of people suffering from brain injury and disease by funding research, raising awareness, and providing support for survivors and their families. Find out more at werunwithyou.org. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a comment or review. Until next time, keep doing good.